What's up, Charlie?
I'm doing
Happy,
fine, brother. How are you?
doing all right, doing all right. Happy Monday to you, bro. Happy Monday.
Yeah, same to you, my brother. No,
It is Monday.
yeah. Uh,
Mondays, not much you can say about Mondays, but hey, what the heck, man? It's one day closer to Friday, right? One day closer to Friday.
well, I've been up since 4 o'clock. I had to get on a class as a requirement for my job, but it's being streamed from the East Coast, so there's a time difference.
Oh,
So when they give me the time at 10 o'clock, I go, "Oh, that's good," but they go, "That's East Coast time, so it's 6 hour difference, right?" So,
yeah.
oh, so the class is from 4 to 7. Then I had one more class after that, but I did okay. At least I passed the test.
That's the main thing, bro.
That's
That's the
amazing.
main thing. That's the thing about living in Hawaii and you work, with people throughout the country because you end up with those scenarios, that 6 hour
Right,
difference. Holy crap.
right.
Sometimes it's kind of inconvenient. But you know what? You get when they power their meeting, um, their day is almost done and ours has just begun.
Right.
Ours has just begun. But anyway, welcome everybody. I hope you guys having a great Monday night. My alarm clock has never experienced 4 a.m. Yeah, I know how that goes, man. I got up at 5 this morning just because I was not without the alarm. I just early riser, but just seems that days are getting longer, man. Days are getting longer. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoying your Monday tonight. We have Congressman, U.S. Representative Kai Kahele. He'll be on talking about what's going on in his life and. The political scene is going to start kicking in. Especially at the state level, the governor's race has become very interesting. Lieutenant governor race kind of quiet. I mean, I think all the way around, except for the governor's race, they're pretty much getting all the headlines. So not much activity going on at the legislature. The mayor's races and the county council races. It's very very quiet, man. Kind of interesting, Charlie, because usually at this time things are flying.
Right. Yep. A lot of times, and I guess because we've been involved in the past, we had the, we had to sort of negate some of the, well, I want to call it the back rushes of candidacy at one time. So we developed the Super Six, right? And that became a very very important program well here on Kauai because it worked. It worked. Getting the right candidates in place, and I'm glad we did because you were part of that at that time, and there are several others that was part of the Super Six. But to get a core, hardworking for the people group of individuals into council, it made a difference. I have to say, it made a difference. Nothing was stalemated. I mean, there were some unfortunate times we had, but nothing too severe that we couldn't get over that hurdle, right? And that's what you need. You need the ability to work together to get the common good accomplished. That's what we
Yeah,
need
but
to do.
I think what you guys did, Charlie, was what I think more communities, more people need to do is get together, vet out the candidates that are running. Not just pick people because they're popular, not just pick people because they give a good chance of winning, but vetting out the candidates and then coming together and picking the candidates that you all believe in. I'm speaking to the village because every state house seat is open this year. Every state senate seat is open this year. Most of the county council seats um, are up. So, but the communities, the voters make the call. And what you
Right.
guys did was basically you rallied the communities together. You vetted your candidates out, and then you come up with a slate that you encourage everyone to support. And imagine if the whole state did that. Imagine if all of the communities in Hawaii did that and focused on their district, Get a bunch of community leaders together and go through these candidates, ask them the tough questions, get their commitments, and then make your decisions on who the community is going to support. I mean, it's a very simple formula. Takes a little bit of organizing and commitments from the community leaders, but at the end of the day, more times than not, you're going to end up with successful elections, and you're going to end up with people that truly represent your community and not just people that are uh, career politicians. And uh, so, I guess that's a hint for all of you out there in the village that want to make a difference. I mean, that's one recipe that actually works. It just takes a bit of time, a little bit of effort, but at the end of the day, it's well worth it. And I'm very blessed and thankful that I was on that slate of six. But it wasn't. We had to work for it, man. We had interviews, we had all of that stuff, and it wasn't just because Charlie and I are friends. Charlie just made sure he wasn't on the interview board. That's all.
Yeah, I
Uh,
recuse
some tough
myself.
questions, man. Some tough
Yep.
questions, and the people that are asking the questions, they're not into BS. They want to truly know,
Hmm.
and it worked well. So a lot of changes can be made this election season, guys. A lot of changes, and I wanna one thing I wanna say, Charlie, is unfortunately, unfortunately, I received a text the other day with a picture of a campaign sign that was cut. I'm not gonna mention any names. And the text said basically accusing us, the village, myself, of making that happen. I'm gonna make it straight and clear right now. Uh, I'll make it very clear right now. Charlie and I do not condone that kind of behavior, man. Charlie knows when I ran for mayor 3 years ago, I had banners cut. I had banners that were spray painted over with some horrific things. Each banner runs about 100, 120 bucks. But it's not just the cost; it's the fact that your workers go out and they put up these banners, and it's horrific when people can just go up there and damage other people's property. So I just want to make that clear, Charlie. Uh, we do not condone that kind of behavior. The way Charlie and the communities did it here on Kauai is the way to do it. You do it civilly, you do it professionally, and you do it strategically, and there's no need for that kind of nonsense. So I just wanted to get that out, Charlie. I wanted to just get that out because number one, I don't appreciate being blamed for something like that, but I just from myself, and I'm sure Charlie will chime in on that as well. We ain't into that stuff, guys. We ain't into that.
Well, what I do know and what I saw is, like you said, we don't condone that because ultimately it's you, the voters, that will put your little mark on that ballot for who you believe will do the best job. Okay. And I've always said this when this is all said and done, we have to go back to our normal lives and we have to be civil about it. And so that's why I said from a long time ago, no act on, because sometimes you got to eat your words, you know, when it's time to going back and being humans. And I'm not saying that when you run for office that you're inhuman, but sometimes the emotional side of it gets the best of you, and that's no good because that's when, and especially if you're running for office and you get emotional, that only dictates one thing to me, that's how probably you'll be in office should you get elected, and how when tough situations arise you're going to handle it, and right then and there you can possibly lose a race. So you put your best foot forward, be that humble Joe, and the people are number one are very sophisticated. They're not stupid. They're and they're very compassionate of who they want in office, and they understand that whether you're running for governor or whether you're running for council, there's a lot of responsibilities in the respective races that people run in, and they understand what it will take to be a successful governing individual to lead the people in the right way. Because remember now, we're isolated in the middle of the ocean. Okay, we don't have states to run to should we run into problems. We have to have everything either flown in or brought in by boat. So again, when you see people's banners go up, okay, they're trying to get themselves out there. You do not have a right to go up there, spray paint, cut the banner down, pull them out of the ground, and lay on it. You don't have the right. At the same token, I ask those in the respective campaigns to please ask permission first when you go put up a sign. Just because you see a whole bunch of signs on someone's fence doesn't mean that's a community fence. The fence belongs to somebody. Ask the person, may I put up a sign? If they say no, then you move on and you find another spot. And if they say yes, then be courteous. I see some people, to get permission, they put up like 20 something banners and yard signs just to fill up the whole space so nobody else can put their signs up there. You know, you do that, in my eyes, it shows me more common sense. So I wouldn't vote for you. But that's just Charlie, you and Uncle Charlie. Okay.
All right. Well, one more last thing, and I'm only gonna address this once tonight because I know I saw comments to this effect earlier in my post. This platform is open for anyone that wants to come here and share. It's not a Democratic platform, Republican platform. If we've brought on Republicans, we brought on Democrats, we brought on all kinds of people. This is a nonpartisan show. So I see a lot of people come up and say, hey, how come you know more Republicans on the show? Well, you have the Republicans, contact us, we'll get them on. I'm not going to chase down every candidate in the state of Hawaii to come on the Mel and Charlie show. If they want to come on, bring them on. Just ask, we will let them in. That's simple. And that's the only time I'm going to bring it up tonight. Okay? All right. I'm going to start off with a little video here. And then we'll bring on our guest, Congressman Kahele.
Six years ago, running for public office was the last thing I wanted to do. I was a community organizer, a combat veteran, and a pilot raising my young family in Hilo. I grew up on Hawaii Island, in a home where my mom and dad taught me about service, about helping others, about answering the call. They raised me in our islands, shared our history, our culture, and taught me about aloha. I attended Hilo High School, Hawaii Community College, UH Hilo, and the University of Hawaii at Manoa, where I helped lead the 1996 volleyball team to the national championship game. Driven by my desire to serve my community, I taught in Hilo Public Schools. I enlisted as an Air Force pilot in the Hawaii Air National Guard, where I commanded dozens of C-17 combat missions in Iraq and Afghanistan, and was awarded the Air and Meritorious Service Medals. My wife Maria and I are part of the Hawaiian Airlines Ohana. Going into politics was never part of the plan, but my dad taught me that when called to service, it is our duty to answer. And since then, I've proudly served people across all our islands, from Oahu to Kauai, on Lanai and Molokai, from Maui to the Big Island. Hawaii is our home. We must treasure her, protect her, care for her. But today, out-of-state money is corrupting our politics, polluting our state, and putting our future at risk. I have a plan to stop the corruption and get the dirty money out of our state government. My name is Kai Kahele. I'm running for governor to send the message that Hawaii is not for sale. I don't have the big mainland donors. While other candidates are taking corporate money and checks of up to $6,000, I will not accept donations from any individual of more than $100. Our campaign will be fueled by our people, not money. I know that together, the people of this state are our greatest resource. And our people deserve a better Hawaii, one built on trust, integrity, and accountability. Together, we can fulfill the hope and promise of Hawaii, based on aloha for one another, respect for our lands, and integrity integrity in our leadership. I've been a Hawaii State Senator and a United States Congressman, and I would be honored to be your next governor and to lead our islands on behalf of all families. If you are ready to transform Hawaii, I'm asking for your help and support. In this primary election, please vote Kai Kahele for all Hawaii.
Charlie.
Yes. Well, it is with great honor, and again, with much humbleness that I present to all of you, Kahele, all the way from a small town on a big island, Miloli'i. So please welcome to our stage, Kai Kahele. How you doing, Kai?
Hey, Mel, and aloha, Charlie, for having me. Oh, skin. I watched that video again. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me and for sharing it with your audience. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate the opportunity. I'm excited to be here.
Okay. I know. I see you're a little jerky on the video. I'm not sure why. I'm showing your internet strength as 100%, so I'm not sure why it's the audio is okay. It's just that the video is a little jerky, so I'm not sure why. But anyway, how you doing, my friend?
I'm great. Excited. We've had a big day, and this is the last big thing of my day today, and we headed back to Hilo tomorrow. So,
No, you're up in Washington right now.
No, I was in Washington last week. As a matter of fact, at 1 a.m, listening to you guys' show, and we took care of business last week. We passed a resolution in the U.S. House to name the new Veterans Center in Kapolei after the late Senator Dana Kaka, and got a lot of work done last week and came back to Hawaii. So good to be back home. Home is where the heart is. I'm excited to be home. I'm excited to be running for governor of Hawaii. And, it's an exciting time in my life. It's an exciting time in the lives of my family and friends and so many people that have supported me on this journey. And the journey continues. And it's an exciting time.
Well, I think the video was a very good introduction of Kai Kahele. As an awesome video. Charlie and I have known you for quite a while. And I think for Charlie and I knew your dad, Senator Kahele, the original Senator Kahele. Had an opportunity to work with him on several occasions while I was still serving on the county council. And that guy was a true ambassador. He's an amazing human being, an amazing person. And then lo and behold, I get to meet the son at some point and just following in your dad's footsteps. I guess let's just start real quick. Let's get right into it. I think we know why you're running, but maybe you can just share with us why the decision to leave Congress to run for governor. And then I also want you to share with us this amazing decision, or this controversial decision to use public funding as your campaign funding mechanism, which is usually done at local small town politics, small town offices like county councils, but mayors and up, rarely will you find someone that does that. So maybe you can share with us that and just break the ice with that, sir.
Sure. Well, thanks for the question, Mel. First of all, mahalo for mentioning my dad, the late Senator Gil Kahele. Great Hawaiian, someone who served his country as a United States Marine, born in Miloli'i, the last Hawaiian village, and made sure myself, my sister, and my family were raised in Miloli'i as kids. Just like you said, my dad was serving in the state senate representing Hilo, and unexpectedly at 73 passed away in 2016. This was honestly, the last thing I ever thought that I would be doing with my life right now. I just turned 48 years old. My dad passed away when I was 41. My wife Maria was 7 months pregnant with my third daughter, uh, living my dream as a Hawaiian Airlines pilot, and was teaching young Air Force pilots how to fly the C-17 as a major in the Hawaii Air National Guard, and C-17 instructor pilot out of Hickam. My dad had a heart attack in early 2016, and days before he passed, for whatever reason, he pulled me on the side with Maria, and he asked if I would consider replacing him in the state senate if he passed away. And for me, that wasn't a difficult decision, because I knew in my heart, if that's what my dad wanted me to do, that I would do it. There was a lot of things in our life at that time, and we all sacrificed, including my wife and our children. But Governor Ige gave me the chance to represent as its state senator, and look back. The last 6 years has been an incredible opportunity to serve my hometown of Hilo, Mokuokeawe, the state senate, and the people of Hawaii congressional district. It gave me the honor to represent them in Congress. I don't think my dad would have ever imagined I would have went to the United States Congress as only the second Native Hawaiian since statehood to represent Hawaii. He would be really proud of that, I'm sure. And I think he would be proud of the new journey, which is to come back home to Hawaii after one term in Congress and run for the highest office in the state. We've only had one Native Hawaiian that has served as Hawaii's governor. That was Governor Waihe'e. I really believe it's time that we return a Native Hawaiian that represents all of our people of Hawaii to the fifth floor. I think I bring a unique skill set, a unique level of experience the state really needs right now to navigate it over the next decade. And so my reason to come back home and serve is because I've heard the calls, the voices, and the conversations of people all over Hawaii as I've traveled to congressional, listened to their challenges and stories, and have decided to come home and serve. I raised my right hand at 24 years of age to join the United States Air Force and the Hawaii Air National Guard to serve our state and our country. I've been serving my life. And so I look at this opportunity as another call to service and to come back home and to give the people an opportunity to elect their next governor. And I think Charlie mentioned it earlier. Everyone has one vote. And our job as candidates is to present our vision, our goals for the state, where we think we go in the next decade. We can leave it better than we found it. And, I'm looking forward to taking that message to Hawaii over the next 75 days before the August 13th primary. And, I'm just really excited to be here. You talked about public financing. I really need to take the state in a new direction as it relates to how we do campaign finance here in Hawaii and how we do election reform. And frankly, we're behind other states that are more progressive in how they elections, and specifically money out of elections that we know has the potential, and in many cases has influenced candidates and those that get into elected office. And so I'm doing something that I think I've always wanted to do. I was a part of the problem. I would sit down with my dad on many occasions, and he hated, having to have fundraisers and ask people for money. It's just how politics has always been done here in Hawaii. And I think for the first time in my 6 years of running for elected office, I'm really running the type of campaign that I probably always wanted to run, but just never knew how to run, or, had never been given that opportunity. So I am seeking public financing. I am attempting to do what no candidate for governor in Hawaii history has ever done, which is to intentionally self-regulate the campaign contributions that come to my for governor to no more than $100 per individual. That's not something any candidate has ever done before. But I really believe taking this election to the people, being with the people, creating a grassroots movement, and more importantly, making sure every voice is heard and everyone feels included is critical in moving the state forward. How I hopefully will be able to build a cabinet, build an administration that is not beholden to big money, especially big outside money from the mainland. The maximum contribution for a candidate for governor is $6,000. $6,000. That's unrelatable to most working class families in Hawaii. And how can you compare someone's $100 or $5 contribution to someone's $6,000 contribution? You can't. And so to give everyone a voice, to level the playing field, to not be beholden to anyone, I decided to do public financing and limit myself to $100. We have seen an incredible response just in the last 17, 18 days since we launched our campaign on May 7th. We have over 800 individual small dollar contributions from all over the state. The average contribution is about $6. We have contributions that range from $1, from a $20 contribution from a teacher, to people that really believe in our campaign. So happy to talk more about public financing, but I really believe that in order to demonstrate and to inspire candidates across the state to run for public office, we need to be able to demonstrate that we can win the highest office in this state on small dollar donations. Take the money out of politics, take the money out of running political campaigns, and put it back in the hands of the people. And if we can demonstrate that we can win on August 13th, we can win the Democratic primary doing what I'm attempting to demonstrate, I think we change Hawaii forever. And I think we ignite a movement across the nation that starts to return power to the people. And that's what I'm trying to demonstrate. And I'm going to put it all on the line to try and lead by example and make what most people will say impossible possible. So I love the challenge. I love being the underdog. And I always believe somebody has to be the first one through the door. But just before you cross through that threshold, you look behind, put your hands out, grab others, pull them through that door with you. And that's what I'm trying to do in this election, and I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of work. I'm putting my faith, my trust in the people of Hawaii, giving them a distinct choice and difference between my opponents and myself. And I'm looking forward to taking that message to the people.
Wow, very good. Very good. Kai, I want to ask you a very difficult question right now. And that is, what makes Kaikahele so unique amongst the field of candidates? What, for someone who, say, is watching tonight that's never met you, what can you say to them to maybe turn them towards you after tonight's show? What is that I want to say sincere quality that you have that to convince the people out there why you're the best candidate?
I think first of all, it's my values. I'm born and raised in Hawaii. Grew up on Hawaii Island. Like I said earlier, my dad was born in Mililii, South Kona, one of the last fishing villages in Hawaii. Very, very special place, and he made sure that his children were raised there. And I was surrounded by my kupuna that had an opportunity to put an imprint on my life as I grew up in the late 1970s and in the 1980s. I grew up around a family that was dedicated to service. My dad, all of his brothers joined the United States military, served their country honorably. I had an opportunity to do that in a very early stage of my life. I always wanted to be a pilot. My mom was a stewardess, a flight attendant for United Airlines. So because of that, we had an opportunity to see the world in a different way than most people growing up my age had an opportunity or didn't have that opportunity to see the world. We did a lot of traveling and we saw a lot of different things. And so I think that started to shape my worldview. I'm a public school graduate. You know, I went to 3 high schools in Hilo. And that's a whole different story. I went to Waikea High School, St. Joe, and I graduated from Hilo High School in 1992. I'm a product of our public education system. I started flying when I was 18. Went to Hawaii Community College, University of Hawaii, and I went to the University of Hawaii with a degree in education. I wanted to be a PE teacher. That was my backup plan. If flying and being a pilot didn't work out. Fortunately, I was given the opportunity to join the Hawaii Air National Guard after I graduated from UH Manoa in 1998. I joined the Guard in 99. I was selected to fly F-15s in the Hawaii Air National Guard. I was in pilot training on September 11, 2001. And watched our nation under attack from Columbus Air Force Base in Mississippi. And 4 years later, I would find myself in Afghanistan, my first of many, many deployments in support of operations Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom. I flew the F-15, I flew the C-130, and then I finally trained and flew the majority of my military flying career, C-17, right? Flew as a co-pilot, aircraft commander, finally an instructor pilot, and led C-17 combat missions in Afghanistan. All that flying to achieve my lifelong dream of being a commercial airline pilot. When in 2009, I got hired at Hawaiian Airlines. Met with my wife, Maria, who's a flight attendant for Hawaiian Airlines. We're proud members of the Hawaiian Airlines family. That's where life had up until 2016, when my dad passed away and I was called to service again, but in a different way than I had been serving my country since I was 24 years old, which was now to serve my state and my local community of Hilo. Elected office. When I got to the state senate, I think I started to define myself as someone who wasn't afraid to take on tough challenges. I was recognized in my first year by Hawaii's very own State Senate President Ron Kochi, who encouraged me to join the Senate leadership, and I was made the majority whip of the Hawaii State Senate and eventually majority floor leader. I had the opportunity to chair the Water Land Committee, I would consider the most difficult committee in the entire state Senate. Chaired the Higher Education Committee, which has purview of the entire University of Hawaii system. So the 4 years I spent in the state Senate, also as a member of the Ways and Means Committee under chairs Joe Takuda and Donovan Dela Cruz, gave me a unique opportunity to learn about the state budget, to learn about our water land issues, and to learn about higher education. I also served as the Vice Chair of Education under Senator Kidani and as the Vice Chair of the Hawaiian Committee under Senator Shimabukuro. So I got a lot of experience quickly in the state Senate on how this goes, how it can work better. And eventually took that experience to the United States Congress, where I developed critical relationships at the federal level that I can see from the seat I'm sitting in right now do not exist at the state or county level. There's so much more we can be doing from our counties and our states in integrating federal government and the interagency relationships that are necessary, the congressional delegation relationships that are necessary, that are not happening right now. And so the relationship I forged on both the Services Committee and the Transportation Committee, helping craft the bipartisan infrastructure bill just about 6 months ago, I think is a unique value for the state of Hawaii as your governor that no other candidate has. No other candidate has federal experience. No other candidate has the direct personal relationships that are absolutely critical for the next governor to have. Because over the next 5 years, your governor, will be on the execution side. $0.8 billion of hard infrastructure that is coming to the state of Hawaii and billions more in competitive federal grants that can help us solve the toughest challenges we have: energy, wastewater, agriculture, housing, homelessness. You need a governor who has those federal experiences and has relationships, and also one that has a depth and breadth of experience at the state. I believe I bring it to this governor's race. I also bring someone who's currently a lieutenant colonel in the Hawaii Air National Guard. You know, my experience as a 21-year Air Force Air National Guard military officer. I'm currently enrolled in the United States Army War College. I've been on the House Armed Services Committee my entire time in my term in Congress, led the effort on Red Hill, leading the effort on returning Makua Valley to Hawaii, the state of Hawaii. There is no candidate that has more military experience and depth and breadth of experience than I do in this race. And I think that's an added value to the state. I look at the next decade, whether it's Makua Valley, Mauna Kea, TNT, Pakuloa, Kaho'olawe, all of the critical land leases, the defueling and decommissioning and shutting down that relationship we have with the military moving forward is really important for the next governor of Hawaii to have that level of skill set. We have not had a governor since Governor Ariyoshi and Governor Burns that have had any military experience. I bring that. I'm offering that to the people of Hawaii, my 21 years of military experience. And so whether it's being a native Hawaiian, being a Hawaiian Airlines pilot, being a member of Congress, former state senator, I think I bring a unique skill set that is unmatched in this race by any of the other opponents. And I'm looking forward to spirited debates. I'm looking forward to talking about issues that are important to the state. And I hope that my message resonates with the people of Hawaii. And I'm willing to lead this state. What this state needs right now is a critical thinker. It needs a dynamic leader. It needs somebody who can bring people together, grounded in local values and island values. Somebody that can lead this state over the next 8 years and can, coming out of COVID, rebuilding our economy, addressing some of the most pressing issues we have, workforce development, housing, homelessness, agriculture, food security, sustainability, food sovereignty. These are all critical issues that you as the voting electorate should be able to hear from every single one of the candidates that want to be your governor, what their plan is, how they plan to execute. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with people of Hawaii, and I hope you'll give me an opportunity to do that.
Well, yeah, thank you for your service too, Kai. The military and with public office. One of the things I think is, and Charlie mentioned it about, I want to kind of go back to that public finance because it's when someone drops you $6,000, it's not because they like you that much. It's not because they really like you. It's because they want that special treatment when they call. You get their cell number. They get your cell number, and when you get all this outside money influencing your daily decisions and the direction of the way the state go, that's what I do not like.
And Mel, you're absolutely right. When someone gives a candidate $6,000, which most people in Hawaii cannot do, that candidate owes them a sit-down dinner to discuss their priorities. When someone gives a candidate $1, or I have a $5 donation from an Uber driver, you get on an email list. And right. But this is how our politics has been operating in Hawaii, and I'm trying to change that. And it's why my website is hawaiinotforsale.com. I really believe that our people have lost trust in their government. I think it's time that we need to institute real reforms that make those more accountable to working families. I really believe that as a congressman and as a state senator, I really came to see just how powerful money is in our politics. And I'm trying to change that. And so I didn't declare public financing, out of the box way of campaigning in a very short period of time. 90 day race for the office of the governor. But I also am proposing, as your governor, the most bold, progressive, populist campaign finance and election reform policy changes in the history of this state. 10 specific things that we can do, that you can do, that can change. It's on my website. And it starts with lowering the amount that you can even donate to a candidate. It's incentivizing public financing and de-incentivizing not doing public financing. It's prohibiting corporate donations, PAC donations, union PAC donations. It's prohibiting bundling, which is happening right now in our campaigns. It's, so I encourage people to take a look at what I would be proposing. Now, some things can be part of the governor's package that will be introduced at the legislature, but ultimately, these and election require either action of the legislature or the action of an awakened electorate through a constitutional convention, which the public can do if they decide to do it, or it requires 2/3 of the legislature. So, I'm looking forward to being a champion for public financing and for finance reform and election. I think it's desperately needed. There's a big misconception about public financing. Public financing, Mel, and you asked that question earlier. Public financing was born out of Watergate. Richard Nixon, Watergate. That's how public financing was born. That's when the Federal Elections Commission was born. That's when the states created their own campaign spending commissions. And so the whole goal and intent is to take big money, corporate money, out of politics. And you do that by having clean and fair elections and publicly financed policies through your state. Hawaii has a partial public financing program. It's a 2-1 match. But if you think trying to achieve, I cannot qualify for public financing until I can demonstrate that I can raise $100,000 on my own from donors from Hawaii individually that donate no more than 1 cent to $100. That's the field. And I have to raise $100,000 to be able to get a 1-for-1 match from the state and to qualify. And the maximum amount that you can qualify for is $208,117. No candidate for governor has ever maxed out the public financing 1-for-1 match. Even Governor David Ige was the last governor to demonstrate public financing. He did it in 2014 when he ran against Governor Abercrombie. He raised $105,000. He qualified for public financing and got the $100,000 match. But that's what I'm attempting to do as well. Different states do different things. There is an argument where people want their taxpayer funds going to certain candidates. But remember, out of the, 130, 40, 50 races in this state and the hundreds of candidates running for elected office, only 10% have declared their intent to seek public funds. 10%. And I am the most high-profile candidate, and the one with the highest threshold to meet to qualify for public financing. So I'm depending on small dollar donations from the village, from people all across Hawaii that are willing to donate $1, but no more than $100 to this people-powered campaign. That is dramatically different than the leading candidate in this race that is taking hundreds of thousands of dollars in outside mainland money, corporate money, big pharma money, pharmaceutical industry money, $6,000 max donors, many of which don't even live here in Hawaii. You as the voting electorate should be asking the question, why? Why? Why would the donor from New York City who has a $6,000 max donation be interested in a governor's race in Hawaii?
Yeah, and I think, Kai, that's what was leading to the importance of the public, because, we are the voters are the only ones that can change the culture of this political system that we have in Hawaii. It's just the way it's been. When I heard about your public funding strategy, I thought, I don't know if any professional campaign advisor would have advised you of that so close to the election. I was just thinking, man, half of me was saying this guy is crazy, and then the other half of me said, this is what we need, though. We need somebody to break that mold. Like you said, once this happens and people realize that we can elect the right people for the right reasons, a lot of others will follow. And I think this may be the start of a new direction for our state as it relates to politics, because it's no secret, man. I mean,
Well,
federal, state, I mean, it, the money runs the decisions, and what you're doing takes that out of the equation. And it's
well,
going
look
to
at
be
this.
very interesting.
Look at Mel. The federal government, if you run for Congress, the max donation is $2,900 per individual. Even that's high. But we're 2 times higher than that, at $6,000 for the office of the governor. That number needs to come way, way down. And I propose that in our policy changes. And so, there's things that, as a candidate for federal office, $2,900 contributions, you can't take money from a corporation. They must be a registered PAC with the FEC. There's things that the government does that we don't even do in Hawaii. And so I really believe that we have to lead by example. And we're going up against here. But I really believe, Mel, that if we cannot win a campaign uncorrupted by max donations and big outside money from the mainland, then we've truly lost. That's not something I want for my girls or the future generations of Hawaii. We got to change it. People have been talking about campaign finance reform for decades. Governor Ryoshi talked about campaign finance reform. There's a lot of people that have talked about it, but we haven't had the political courage or the political will to do it, because we haven't had a candidate that has been able to demonstrate that we can do it in a very short period of time. And we can do this. I believe with every fiber of my being in the people of Hawaii. And, I can't wait for August 13th. It's going to be an exciting night. And we're going to put it to the test. And we'll see. We'll see if people can prevail over money. That's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. And, you should ask the questions of where that outside money is coming from, because you are about to be barraged with commercials and TV ads. They're going to be in your living rooms, in your car, on the radio, in your newspapers. They're going to unleash millions of dollars in a very short period of time, because they care about you hearing their name and seeing their image on TV more than the character of the individual. And I'm not going to be able to do that. I've got to use what is available to me. But that's how we're going to do it. And I really believe that our message is resonating across Hawaii. 800 donors in 17 days, Mel and Charlie, is a movement. People are excited about this, and I'm excited that they've joined this journey with me. And so if you want to join this journey with me, or if you have already, thank you so much. But if you haven't yet, please go to my website, hawaiinotforsale.com, and make a small dollar donation, because every single dollar counts. Help me cross that bridge, get to $100,000. We're going to change Hawaii. And I really believe that.
Mel, let's shift gears a little, because there is something pressing that has besieged all of the candidates, right? It's dealing with COVID. That ugly head has reared itself again, and it seems like it's doing more damage yet. People measure, not that many people in the hospital, which is not true. We know that there is people in the hospital, and then they talk about, we haven't heard of that many deaths, but people are pretty darn close. But thanks to the wonders of medicine, there's intervention going strong to try to keep the people from passing away. So my question is, as governor, if you were to become our next governor and you have a pandemic like what we're having now, what would you do differently that the present administration is doing now? What would you do differently?
Well, I think about my mom, who I was just with a couple of days ago in Hilo, and she just got her, I think it was her second booster shot. And so, one of the things that I think is really important is if you're eligible to go get your booster shot, to go and get it. I mean, we know that there are many people that are still getting COVID. It seems that the current virus is not as potent as others, but I still hear stories, and I'm sure you guys have as well, about people who are still having a rough time and are still ending up in the hospital. And so, being, we are at COVID exhaustion. This is like almost 3 years now that we're dealing with this pandemic, and we have to be able to mitigate it. We have to be able to get back to our lives. Our economy depends on it. Our children and their education depend on it. And we have to be able to live with it and manage it. But I think there's things that we've learned that we can do to help mitigate that risk. I still, when I go back and forth to Washington, D.C., I still wear a mask on an airplane as much as possible. I think that's something that people need to be able to make their choice in if they or don't want to wear a mask. I think parents should be given opportunity to have a choice in our schools. That's something that I would encourage this administration to do. But getting vaccinated, if you're sick, stay home, and doing everything you can to help minimize that spread in our country is really important. What I think is also equally important is we have a lot of data. We have a lot of experience in knowing what we did wrong, what we did right, we could have done better. And so how do we take all of those after action reports? How do we take all of that experience and create a state that is more resilient and more prepared for any type of emergency, any type of natural disaster, another global health pandemic? How do we prepare the state so that we don't make the same mistakes that we made the last time? Because there was a lot of flip-flopping going on. There was a lot of people making decisions that shouldn't have been made or not. And we were dealing with a dynamic situation that we had never dealt with before. And I've had a firsthand look at it being in the United States Congress and seeing how COVID has changed month by month in the Congress. Some months we're wearing masks, some months we're not wearing masks. Some months they tell you not to come into Congress and work remotely. Other months they say it's okay to come. And so I think that there's things that we can do as a state right now. And I think Governor Ige has done the best job that he could have done. I mean, clearly there are things that I think we could have done better. But I'm really looking forward to building a state that is more resilient, more prepared for what we were frankly unprepared for, and nobody could have for what happened and what we had to deal with as a state. And I think those are some things, Charlie, that I would look at implementing if I were Governor Ige right now.
That's always a tough one, man. I was just watching the news tonight, and they said that they're expecting the surge to continue. They're expecting a bigger surge in June and July. So it's just something we got to wait and see how this thing plays out. But there were a couple other big issues that you stood up. You stood up for Red Hill, for the Valley. Was it Makua? What's the
Red Hill was
Red Hill, and then the land that I just read about. I don't know why the name is escaping my brain. About giving that land back to the state.
Makua Valley.
Makua Valley.
Yeah.
For 2 years, and let me just say this. Let me just say that I don't think I contributed to your campaign when you ran for U.S. for Congress. I don't. I may have. I don't think I did. But when we had that erosion issue here in Hanalei, and all of the residents, the people that use that river, in fact, there are several residences on that river that were at risk of falling into the river, and they were not getting any answers from the county, from the state. They called me, and I obviously I was not in the council at the time, so I went up the river. I took a video and I sent it to your office. And Kai, I don't even think I knew you that well yet. And within a month, you were here on the river. And I didn't donate $6,000 or 2,900 or whatever the max was. And I think that for me, that really said a lot that you were able to come over here. You were in DC at the time, but you were able to make it back to Kauai and get up on that river. And I think that's critical when we elect our leaders, that you can have that communication and that response. But there was Red Hill. There were again Makua Valley. Even COVID, when you stood up and spoke of your 10-step plan that you got a lot of criticism for. But for 2 years, the last over 2 years, many of our elected officials went silent. They just chose not to stand up and be heard. And I think a lot of it was because the fear of retribution by voters or by other elected officials. What is that? What is that in you that allows you to do that or makes you do that? That ability to not be concerned about what people are going to say and just say what you believe is the best.
Mel, my dad always taught me, that in order to be a leader, you got to lead. And being a leader requires making tough decisions, and being a leader requires not flip flop, not constantly changing your position, and getting all the necessary information, listening to as many people as possible, surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals. But at the end of the day, coming to a decision and making a decision. And I think those skills were honed for me in the military. Like I mentioned before, I've had an opportunity to lead very high-stressed combat missions into Iraq and Afghanistan. And you don't have time to worry about what someone else thinks when you need to make a critical life-saving decision. Your crew and the equipment that you're responsible for. And so, again, I approach my job as an elected official as someone who, I'm not here to watch paint dry. I'm here to make a difference in people's lives. I'm here to bring critical decision making to the most challenging issues of this state. And whether it's East Maui water rights, Mauna Kea, Red Hill, rail, 30-meter telescope, Mauna Kea, Pakuloa, Makua Valley, Homeland Defense Radar, Kauai, you're not going to get somebody who is unwilling to tackle tough issues, but will not do it in a way that is a bull in a china shop. We'll do it in a way that brings everyone together, attempts to listen to all points of view, but at the end of the day has to make a decision. And that's how I've led in the state Senate. That's how I've led in Congress. I feel like if I'm not here doing that right now, then I shouldn't be here. And somebody else should be representing you in the seat that I'm in. I'm here to make a difference in people's lives. And when you called, Mel, and you told me that the Hanalei River was eating the highway and it was collapsing out there. And we got in a boat with Laird Hamilton, went up the river to see it for myself. And I got on the phone with the director of transportation for highways and said, hey, what are we doing about Hanalei River? And what kind of federal resources do you need so we can address it? And we included those resources in the bipartisan infrastructure bill. And so what is coming to Hawaii is exactly what's going to fix Hanalei Highway and our airports and our infrastructure, and to get more broadband to our rural communities, fix our schools, our bridges. There's so much infrastructure needs that this state requires. And we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to address those needs. But you need a governor who understands the relationship between the federal government and its infrastructure relevant agencies so that we can get this money out into the community. We can put people to work, and we can address this. And the Hanalei River is an example of that. So, I just, life is too short, guys. I'm 48 years old. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. I've had so many friends, whether it's COVID or just guys my age, that have passed away and are no longer with us today. You guys know, several of them. And my kids are young. Life is too short, and I live every day like it's my last. And every day I get an opportunity to serve, whether it's serving our nation in uniform or serving our state, as an elected official. I'm going to give you my best every single day. And you should expect no less from anyone else that wants to serve, especially one that wants to be governor of Hawaii, right? This election is not about COVID. This election is about the future of Hawaii and how we get our economy, our housing, our education, our renewable energy, change. It's all of those things. And, the next governor is going to be critical in transforming the state, because COVID has been devastating for many people. There's so many people that have lost their business. There's so many people that have lost their lives. Children have been put back. Public school kids have been put back a year, maybe even 2 years in their education progress. And we need a leader who can bring all of that together. And, I feel like I could be wrong. I'm going to find out on August 13th. But I feel like I am at this stage in my life, with the skill set and experience and the heart and the love for Hawaii that I have for our kids and our future, that I'm the best candidate for the job, and I'm applying for the job just like anybody else is. And you as the employer, you should ask the tough questions of those applying for the job, and they should be able to answer them in a transparent, honest way, and give you some concrete plans of what they plan to do. It's not an easy job, and it's going to come with a lot of criticism, a lot of hard work, but that's what you need. You need somebody who can stay calm, cool, collective in a time of crisis, who is a forward thinker, but is also somebody who can bring people together and to listen, and someone who's responsive to the most challenging needs of our state.
I know there's a lot of questions about specifics on if you go to Kai's website, hawaiinotforsale.com, he has his plans up on the website. Go and check it out. There's also a contact button. You can reach out and contact Kai with specific questions. I know the hour is wrapping up. I did want to talk about, it was a couple of weeks, 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, your name popped up in the paper quite a bit. You were in the civil beat every single day, and you're being criticized about your absenteeism, your MIA status at Congress, about your being a pilot for double dipping, flying for Hawaiian Airlines and working for Congress, and it was every single day for about a week. And I wanted to give an opportunity to address that, because the way it was presented was that you weren't in DC, and that you weren't voting, and that you basically weren't doing your job. I wanted to give an opportunity to touch on those. For me,
Sure.
It seemed like they were just obsessed with you. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, Mel, just to make it crystal clear for all of your listeners and those watching, is I have not missed a single vote this entire year in the U.S. House of Representatives. Not missed a single vote. The voice of Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District has been heard every single time. Now, I took the opportunity, because of COVID and the House attending physician, to minimize my travel between Washington, D.C. and Hawaii, and to spend time in the district, getting into our communities, finding out what their problems were, being present in the district, being a different representative than my predecessor, to really understand what the community needed and to help constituents move the needle on the challenges that they were facing. My priority from day one, Mel, has always been on the district. It's not on this. It's not on some political agenda in DC. My priority has always been our constituents. And it's just not my priority, it's my staff's priority. And those priorities paired with COVID led me to spend more time in Hawaii, and it was absolutely worth it. And so the fact of the matter is I have not missed a single vote. And the opportunities that I took to go to Lanai and Molokai and Maui and Kauai and Hawaii Island and Oahu were tremendous opportunities that helped me shape my priorities for my appropriation bills that I'm working on right now, for the House Armed Services Committee work. And I'll give you a great example. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the Homeland Defense radar here in Hawaii. And up until a few months ago, I really believed that that radar facility was necessary for the state because of the instability of North Korea, China, and the potential ballistic missile threat to the Hawaiian Islands, and the potential inability for the United States military on the continent to protect the Hawaiian Islands from a ballistic missile threat. But through my visits to Kauai, through the opportunities I had to listen to people on the North Shore, concerned residents here on Oahu, and having a chance to sit down and meet with people on Kauai, and then meet with military leaders at PMRF and the military leaders back in Washington, D.C., I've changed my position on the Homeland Defense radar Hawaii, and I no longer support it. That wouldn't have been possible if I didn't get the opportunity to sit at people's kitchen tables, sit in the parks down by Kalapaki Bay with Kauai residents that came out to express their concerns, so that I could help shape my position on this critical issue for Hawaii. And so, addressing the issues of voting, it's not true. It's absolutely, it's misleading is what it is. I've not missed a single vote. And I used that opportunity to spend time in the district delivering for the people. And I wouldn't have changed it. In terms of Hawaiian Airlines, I've been flying airplanes since I was 18. Everyone in Hawaii knows I'm a Hawaiian Airlines pilot, and my wife is a Hawaiian Airlines flight attendant. I continue to fly and maintain my currency at Hawaiian Airlines because I think it's important to have another job, not just have, be being an elected official. So I continue to work on rare occasions to maintain my currency with Hawaiian Airlines as a pilot. And I bring a unique experience and skill set that does not exist on the Transportation Infrastructure Committee or the Aviation Subcommittee that I serve on, that helps improve the nation's airspace system and our aviation industry. That is a lifeline for the Hawaiian Islands. And so I believe that my experience as an airline pilot is a value added for the Congress and for the people of Hawaii. I've rarely flown over the last calendar year. A matter of fact, Mel and Charlie, I would bet that you guys were up yesterday longer than I have flown the entire calendar year. In 2022, I flew 14.2 hours. I bet you guys were up longer than 14.2 hours yesterday. That's all I've flown. I've made less than $3,000 the entire calendar year as a Hawaiian Airlines pilot. So all of those stories were misleading. They were mischaracterizing my work, my integrity, my work ethic, and frankly, they were direct political hit attacks, I believe, from my opponents who did not want me to enter this race. And it was really unfortunate that happened, and that's okay, because we just keep on working hard and keep moving forward. That's all that we can do. And so that didn't deter me. If anything, it emboldened stronger, and it made me believe more that what I was attempting to do, which was to change the dynamics of this governor's race, was spot on. And I hope the people of Hawaii will give me the opportunity to explain that to them, because I chose not to be reactive. I chose not to jump into media. I put out a very specific statement that was fact-based. Many of their stories were not fact-based. They didn't do their homework. Poor journalism, and as a result, the media decided to run stories that were inaccurate, and that's okay, because my staff, who bust Kole, they work incredibly hard to do what I'm doing. If it wasn't for my hardworking, over 25-member staff that represents Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District, we work really hard, and we know in our hearts what we've done and continue to do for the district, and will continue to do until the very last day we represent Hawaii 2nd Congressional District in office. Whether we are successful in this election or we finish our term at the end of this 117th Congress, we will work every single day until the very last day.
Charlie, any questions, Charlie?
Yeah, I see a lot of comments tonight, pros and cons either way, but like we said before, this is not scripted. We have the individuals come on and they tell it like it is, and I respect everybody's comments, and I'm glad you're keeping it civil. But I think one of the things is they brought out, and they felt that in January, when you had your 10-point plan of COVID, some during this the explanation that you gave, I'm reading here that some felt that you may have changed your position. And, I'm not one to guess the responses that you're giving, but would you like to comment on that, your position with your 10-point plan?
Can you clarify that, Charlie, just so I understand?
Yeah, I guess you had mentioned earlier about COVID when it was first coming out. You gave what you would do, your 10-step. You had mentioned, as some of them have made mention in their comments,
okay,
that it was a 10-step plan, and they feel that maybe what they heard tonight may not be part of that 10-step. I mean,
well, when I penned that 10-step plan back in January, we were in the middle of Omicron. I got COVID twice, on December 4th and January 1st. Tested positive 2 times. My 7-year-old, she got COVID as well. There were so many people around the state and our country getting infected by COVID and Omicron. Our schools were shutting back down again and going back to distance learning. And I just felt, this was around the 2nd week in January, deeply frustrated as to where the state was at that time, seeing thousands of cases a day of Omicron. And so, I penned a 10-step plan for that moment of time back in January that I felt was critically important for the state to move forward. There are things that are in that 10-step plan that I still think are really, really, really important that we need to do today, whether it's creating a digital health passport or improving the Aloha Safe Alert system, doing things that can ensure that we can keep our schools open. I think there's things that are really important in that plan. There's some things that we may have moved on from, but this has been a dynamic situation that we continue for the last 2 or 3 years. And so, I think that's the way I felt back in January. I think there are components of that I think are still really important. I mean, at the end of the day, we have to do what we need to do to protect people of Hawaii, to protect our state, but also do it in a way where we can continue to move our economy forward, get our kids back in school, and provide the opportunity to do it in a safe way. So I think there are things that are still very relevant in my 10-point plan. And there's some things that I would, have the opportunity to analyze all the information we have now, get out into the community, listen to how people feel, and be able to make a more well-informed decision where we are today than we were back then in January, which was, we were seeing surging cases of Omicron. We were going back to a state that we were starting to clamp down again.
Okay.
Thank you. It's COVID's a tough one because I think the information that gets out into the community is I don't think it's transparent. I think we had Dr. Altenberg on the show. I think that's the show you were on, Kai. I don't know if you stayed on how long because you were on the East Coast, but he shared the numbers, and I think what's scary now is we are beyond the peak of Delta with this Omicron. I mean, we're beyond, and I see the concern even in the governor's discussions and the mayor's. No one wants to really pull that trigger to kick in the indoor mask mandate for fear of, I don't know, but I guess the question is the data, the actual data, and we've never been. This state has not been good with the transparency of data as it relates to COVID, but that will drive the decisions, I think, or I hope it would drive the decisions that our elected officials make going forward, because it just has to be. But um, again, you guys go. Kai, you have a contact me button on your website.
Yep.
Yeah, so I know there's a lot of COVID group members here, different COVID groups around the state. Please contact Kai on his website at hawaiinotforsale.com, and share your questions there, and he can probably give you better answers, because this always happens, right? When we get a popular guest or a engaging topic, we run out of time. But I just wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to address what's been in the news. What's been in the news, because really, if you talk about housing, I did want to. I saw a couple of questions about housing. How I don't know if you can sum that up in a couple of minutes, though, as it rates on your priority board. Housing, Hawaiian Homes. I know they just got an influx of cash from the legislature to help move people into their homes. Is
No,
that something that
yeah,
obviously you would?
I think housing is one of the top issues in this race. I think our housing crisis poses an existential threat to our communities in Hawaii that we know. Besides the Big Island, housing, whether you're on Kauai, Oahu, or Maui, is out of control, and the average home price of 1.2 million is unsustainable for local families now. The majority of our families are civil service employees. They're middle class families that can afford homes in 60 to 140% of the area median income, and they cannot afford $2 million, or they are stretching themselves so much in their monthly earned income, or have to come up with so much of a down payment to qualify for that mortgage, that they either have to have another job or something has to be sacrificed. And so I think that at some point we have to come to the realization is government has an obligation to provide its people housing, and that our approach that we've currently been using isn't working. I think we need to make building affordable housing easier. And it's not the issue of capital, it's the availability of land, it's the cost of construction. On the island of Oahu, we're going to have a water shortage because of Red Hill. It's a material issue, it's a shipping issue. And so, I think the governor has a critical role in working with the 4 county mayors in establishing housing policies that can address the housing issues we have. I think we need to build targeted workforce housing centered around the major economic drivers where people work: the hospitality industry, the healthcare industry, education, and in the civil service community. I think the county and state have to work together to put in infrastructure to lower the cost of housing. And it has to utilize what the private market doesn't have, and the ability to borrow cheap money through tax-exempt bonds, using development mechanisms, and utilizing bond activity caps to help fund this. I think that's really, really important. I would build out 2 housing plans. One plan, which is urban Honolulu from the stadium to Waikiki, which would be vertical density housing, and just turn downtown Honolulu on. I would look at adjusting zoning in those areas, creating economic initiatives, creating special economic zones, and creating housing that we've seen in other major metropolitan cities that are somewhere between 6 to 10 stories high. Government sets the conditions, and we can create housing in that urban core. I think the second plan is the rural plan, is the second congressional district plan, or the rural communities, and that's where the state and county must work together in creating policies, whether it's dramatically increasing property tax rates for non-resident, non-owner occupied out-of-state investors, cracking down with not just policies, but enforcement of illegal vacation rentals, and de-incentivizing short-term rentals in our local neighborhoods that are driving up the cost of housing. I think the state did a great job and continues to put money into the rental housing revolving fund that allows us to leverage LIHTC, that ultimately builds low-income housing and addresses our extremely low-income housing needs, but we need more of that. And at the end of the day, the Department of Hawaiian Homelands and their historic amount of funding that they received this year, thanks to the legislature, has to utilize those funds to build housing. They are the only agency that can build housing and put in infrastructure specifically for a targeted group of people, which is Native Hawaiians. And so DHHL has a massive role in addressing the Native Hawaiian housing crisis. But we need to get moving. And now they have the resources to do it. So the next governor, the next director of the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, the next deputy director of the Hawaiian Homelands is going to be critical in moving these projects forward and leveraging that money, NAHASDA funds, to build more housing on DHHL lands. And I think we should look at everything. How can we reduce the cost of housing to bring a house down to $500,000 on Kauai? Is that possible, Mel? Can we build a home? Can Grow Farm build homes for $500,000 in Lihue?
We can if the state give us the land.
We got to give us the land. We got to look at putting in infrastructure. We have to look at any type of affordability provisions. Everything should be on the table. Prefab, modular, pre-engineered. We need to look at acquiring and refurbishing buildings and properties in its existing location. We can do this, but continuing to do what we're doing right now is why homes are $7, $8, $9 million in Lihue, on Oahu, on Maui. And what's going to happen if we don't address it is we are going to continue to see an out-migration of local families moving to the mainland. And an in-migration of out-of-state money, of out-of-state investors that are coming in to buy and drive up our housing costs. When they drive up those housing costs, they drive up property taxes. I also think if you're owner-occupied, you live in your home, you should pay very little in property taxes. We should raise the exemptions. We should tax as much as possible out-of-state investors and those that are coming here and driving up our housing costs. We need to de-incentivize it, and you know we're capped. We can't, because of the U.S. Constitution and laws at the federal level. We cannot discriminate against out-of-state buyers. But there are tools that we can do. If you have a governor that can work together with the 4 county mayors, work with the construction industry, work together with the housing HHFTC, and those that do build housing to figure out how we can do this. It's not the unavailability of land. We have a lot of state land, a lot of county land. We have to be able to use them effectively and strike that balance between agriculture, housing, economic development, energy. Those are some of the most pressing issues that I think we have.
Yeah, you know, I cannot help but think about all the problems that we're having in the state. I know a lot of people in this group are very passionate about COVID, as I am. But when you sit down and start writing on a tablet, mental health hospital in Honolulu, completed over a year ago, not filled. Convention center, roof leaking, terrible disrepair, cannot afford to fix. Traffic, rail. When you start thinking about all of the issues in this state, housing, not just Hawaiian homes, although the Hawaiian homes to me that's the low-hanging fruit because they have land, they have funds. All of these issues that this next governor is going to have to tackle. I'm going to just say this, and then we'll start closing down. But I'll just say this: as long as we have this current structure of leadership where money influences decisions, we're not going to fix the problem. We're not. We're going to continue on this journey of paying to play. Right? This is what's going to happen, and it's pathetic how these things happen. It's not just COVID; it's everything else that we gotta. the person we pick. That's why I'm so attracted to this model where no more is outside influence. In other words, you get elected, you go to work. You go to work and you start fixing what's broken. And it's been broken because the system is broken. The game is still the same. The players change, but the rules are still the same, right? Now the rules change because all of a sudden, no more that corporate phone call from New York or Pennsylvania or wherever.
And you know, the most
Right.
important thing, Mel, the governor cannot do it alone. The governor has to build a team. That's his first thing that he's going to do, right? Critical positions to lead departments, critical boards and commissions that the governor will appoint people to. And you need a governor who is not beholden to lobbyists. You don't want lobbyists running the office of the governor. That's what's at stake right now. Lobbyists, special interests, corporations, wealthy mainland donors who want to control, like I said in my the economic and political life of this. We need a governor who can build a team of people that have that want to be there, are there for the right reasons, that have the intellectual capacity, the vision, the values to lead this state and lead these critical departments for the next decade. And you take money out of politics, you can have a governor that can build that team to lead the fight. If not, they're going to be influenced by the donors that donated to their campaigns, the donors that bundled for their campaigns, the lobbyists that run their campaigns. That's what's happening right now, man. We can change it. It's going to be up to the voters, people of Hawaii, that do their homework and look at who is funneling and funding these elections and these campaigns.
Charlie, any questions for Kai?
I'll save my comments for closing.
Alrighty. Kai, you got the floor, man. And again, I apologize. You know, this was supposed to have gone till 8. Thanks for hanging on there, Kai. Again, HawaiiNotForSale.com. If you have some issues, you want to set up a little phone call with Kai, share your concerns. I see a lot of concerns about COVID. I'll be sharing my concerns with Kai as well about COVID. But because I know he will listen, and we'll have that discussion. But please do that. All right.
Yeah.
Do that.
Please do
Contact
that. You know, hey, I'm not the perfect person. I don't have all the
Kai,
answers.
this is your opportunity, buddy.
Okay. Well, thanks guys for having me. You know, for all your listeners out there, you know, I appreciate the opportunity to come into your homes tonight, and for you to hear a little bit about me. You know, I don't have all the answers. Definitely not the perfect person, but you know, I give you my all, I give you my heart, and I'll listen, and I'll do my homework. And this election is not just about COVID. You know, COVID has reared its ugly head again, but this election is not about COVID. It is about preparing for what the future, you know, of this state truly needs, and that's leadership. And so, you know, I'm please email me with your concerns, your suggestions. I'm open to them. You know, my staff is also willing to help address your concerns and issues as well. I believe that this election is about who will lead this state over the next at least 4 years, for 2 terms, a person to give the opportunity to do that. You know, I really believe that Hawaii has a tremendous opportunity to unleash its potential around the hardworking people of this state, and do it in a way that truly honors our past while looking towards our future. You know, at the end of the day, it's about our children. It's about leaving this place better than we found it, and doing it with pride, respect, and giving everyone an opportunity by leveling the playing field, by putting faith and trust back into people. And so, you know, I'm excited to go on this journey, you know, and I hope you'll join me. And if you need to learn more about me, please email me. And I'm looking forward to coming to your island. I will go anywhere. I will debate anywhere. I will go anywhere. I will listen anywhere. First base, at a baseball park, a community center, a neighborhood, a garage, a cul-de-sac. Dedicating the next 70 days of my life to this state and this election. I want to hear from you, and I want to learn from you. And I really mean that. And you're going to get the best out of me. And I hope you challenge me with new ideas and new ways of thinking, because we're all in this together. We cannot. No one person can lead this state. We're all in the canoe. We're all got to paddle together. And if we do that, I really believe that we can build a Hawaii that we have talked about for decades, but we have yet to fully achieve. And so I'm asking for your support. I'm asking for your consideration to serve as your governor. I'm hoping to earn your trust, your confidence, and ultimately your vote. And I just want to thank Mel and Charlie for giving me this opportunity to be on your show. I hope to be back, give you an update on how things are going in the next couple of weeks. But thanks so much, guys, and mahalo to the village and to everybody watching. Hello.
Thank you, sir. Charles.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Kai, very, very much. I'm going to go out on a limb by saying this next statement, because I saw some comments tonight, and like I said, everybody has the right to express how they feel. But tonight's show alone doesn't dictate how things are going to turn out. It just gives you the platform to express, and I'm going to express myself. This man that came on tonight, all I can say is one thing: I love this guy. And regardless if some of you felt his position change, you have every right to feel that way. But like I said, I love this guy. Someone said, maybe you don't know until you have a family member that died. Well, as you all know, my brother was a first of 3,000 in New York City that died. I can't bring him back. I went to Honolulu to see my another granddaughter graduate. And I cried inside because her daddy couldn't be with us because my son has COVID. My granddaughter, who graduated last week, she has now come down with COVID. So if you want to talk about getting hit with COVID hard, you're looking at a grandpa and a father who just had to go through that. And to see my granddaughter graduate and her daddy not there to celebrate with us, kind of hit hard. So what I heard from Kai tonight resonated, and that is, COVID is just one piece, and I have to do the same. I know emotionally I'm taking it all in, but yes, I have to emotionally do the same and look at other issues, like the water issue that Kai stood up for at Red Hill. I didn't see anybody else standing up. He stood up. Okay? So I can look at a lot of things. But at the end of the day, all of you who have been with this ride with us know we had all sides that joined us. And we had, unfortunately, things changed. But like I said before, when it's all said and done, we all have to get along, because when the politics is done, when the election is done, we have to holomoa and move forward. Okay? And like Kai said, if he needs help, if you want to be there to help him, give him your ideas. Who knows? Maybe what you tell him might work. It's easy for us to criticize. And I've always said it to my working crew. It's easy for you guys have plenty problems, but I always say, come with a solution. Okay? I can't do it alone. Because for those of you who know me, working on the airport, seeing 5,000 to 6,000 people a day, I'm right in the devil's den. I get people coughing all over me, right? At 63, right? Should I be working? I should be retired already, enjoying my life. I already served my time in the police department. What am I asking? I'm asking we just be fair to everybody. And this and my closing comment is not targeted at anybody. I just want to let you know my personal feelings. I'm struck with some emotional things, but I believe in God that my son and my granddaughter will pull through. That's all I can say. And I'm going to tell you right now, I love this man and I will support him. I will support him because he hasn't given me any reason not to support him. And that's for those out there who believe in Uncle Charlie and everything that I stood for. And if I turn some of you off, I'm sorry. But that's just how I am. I'm going to support this man. Okay, Mel?
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Kai, for being here tonight. Um, I get two recommendations or two requests. Number one, Kai, check out the comments. I think there's a lot of good information in the comments that was flowing through at probably the fastest rate I ever saw since we started this program. There's a lot of comments. The second part is to our villagers. We said long ago that our show was not going to be a political show, but as we started getting closer to the election or to the season, I talked to Charlie. Said, if people are willing to come on the show and share, then we would let them. And we've had Vicky Cayetano, we've had Ikaika Anderson, we've had Mr. Bisson. And again, our platform is open to anyone that wants to come on and share. And I don't look at it as being political. I look at it as being informative information. My second part of this is, Kai could have come on tonight. He knows our viewership. He knows our village. He knows the stance of the majority of our villagers that are here. He could have simply said, I stand by my plan. He could have simply said, wishy-washy, blah, blah, blah. He came knowing that response that you asked him for was going to probably be unsatisfactory for you. But he chose to be honest, and he chose to tell you how he felt today on May 23rd, 2022, as compared to January when the times were the difference. We had more COVID people in the hospital. We had more COVID people dying. We have less COVID people in the hospital today. We have less COVID people dying. Now, listen, I'm going to make this real clear, and Kai is a good friend of mine, and we can agree to disagree. I believe we should have an indoor mask mandate. But because we disagree on that one issue, I'm not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Because my job is to convince Kai now that, hey, this is what's happening. This is the deal. And I said it a little while ago. The change in this political process, with this public funding, the fact that my $100 donation going to be the same as Uncle Charlie's $100 donation, everyone else's $100 donation is what's going to get this man elected. So Charlie's $6,000 donation, because he can't afford it, right? And I cannot. So that means Charlie gonna get the direct line, I gonna get the secretary's line. That's what I don't like about politics. Listen, I sent a letter to Congress last week. I sent a letter to Congress for something else, for some online issues, nothing to do with COVID. I get an automated response from Maisie Hirono telling me, thank you for your question. We will be working on this question, on a response. I am working remotely because I don't want to expose our Hawaii people to unnecessary COVID transmissions. So that's why I'm working remotely. Now, did Civil Beat go after her? Did the communities go hog wild because Maisie Hirono wasn't in Washington, D.C.? Because she was in Hawaii working remotely, because she is concerned about our residents getting COVID because of the flights? No, of course not. Right? So much like Charlie, I've worked with Kai. I've worked with him. You heard I give you one example, but we've worked on many issues. And are we going to agree on everything? No. I think what I look for is someone that's willing to say what's on his heart without catering the message to the receiver. I just want to know where you stand, my friend. You tell me where you stand, and there's an opportunity for me to change your mind, or vice versa. That's how this thing works. So I appreciate your time, Kai. I appreciate going overtime. It's 8:30. Tell you, Ohana, we appreciate them sharing you with us. And again, for those of you in the village, HawaiiNotForSale.com, hit them up, have the discussion, clarify your concerns with him, and let him know how you feel.
And you know what, Mel? Shoot me an email rather than go to the website. Check out the website, but just shoot me a direct email to info@kaikahele.com. For real. Send me your concerns. Send me your perspective. Info@kaikahele.com. Load up my email inbox tonight. I can't wait to look through them. And you will get a response from me. And I'll do my best to answer in a honest, as honest and open way as possible. So send an email there, Mel. Easier than going trying to the website. Info@kaikahele.com.
You guys got that info there we go. Thanks, Mara. Mara just put it up there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Mara's got it right. Kai Kahele, not Kahale. Kahele.
Did I say Kahale?
I don't know, bro.
Right,
people make the mistake all the time. But yeah, send it my way and let me look at it. Like I said, I'm open to ideas. I'm open to how you feel. And you know, I'm willing to listen. And you know, that's all I can give you. You get a straight up answer from me. But thanks so much.
And Mel,
that's the only comment I'm posting tonight. Janelle says, "I think your email inbox will fool." LOL.
Hey, Mel.
Yeah.
You know,
go ahead, Charlie.
yeah, you know, I just like to say, and again, before this night goes past, I just want everybody to know if I offended anybody with what I said in my commentary, I truly apologize. But I'm just saying what's on Uncle Charlie's heart. And it's not to target anyone personally. It's just that I care for this man and I'm going to support him. That's it. No getting around that. And I'm sorry if I don't match up to maybe what you think Uncle Charlie should do. But like Mel, if I'm convinced otherwise, or if I'm able to convince him on some things that, you know, tonight he said some things that I don't agree with, but that's what makes our relationship special. We can give and take. So, you know, there's a lot of hard work that needs to go into everything. But again, he's a good man and I love this guy. And like I said, if given what you're given, you folks can make your choice. I made mine.
Mahalo.
Check out the website. Check out his priority list and his plans. I think you guys will be surprised. All right, guys. You guys take care. God bless. We love you guys. Stay safe.